Good morning, everyone. It's Angela Allen. Welcome back to the Handmade Homestead. Today, I want to talk about how teamwork makes the dream work. And by teamwork, I mean the garden systems that each gardener puts in place for their own processes to work through getting their work done and getting things accomplished in a timely manner, but also in the ways that are important to them. Now, I like an aesthetic garden, but I also like a lot of whimsy in the garden, and that's pretty well displayed by the fact that I recycle everything in my garden. My garden beds, you can see some of which is behind me, has all of these wood edges. I don't have raised beds really. I am a no-dig gardener. But these wooden edges that you see all around my garden, you'll notice they're different sizes. Like that looks like a 4x4. These are probably 1x6s maybe, but all of them are recycled wood that's from a deck that we had and we replaced a couple of years ago. So I recycle everything that I can in the garden. It saves me money, it saves me time, it saves me material usage. I think it's better for the environment. And it gives me a garden that looks approachable, comfortable, and easy to work in. So that's one of the systems for me. I recycle what I can. Like this wood back here that I recycled for all of the edges. I actually recycle all of the cardboard, all of the paper bags that we get, as long as it's not got color sprayed on it. If it's just the regular cardboard, that gets recycled into my garden. All of the pathways in my garden are chipped with wood chips that we get from a local arborist. Helps them. The wood chips get recycled. He doesn't have to pay to dispose of them, and we don't have to buy wood chips for our garden. And we know the ones that we get are natural, almost always organic. People don't usually spray their big pine trees or big trees that they have coming down in their yard. So that helps us too. So that's one of the systems. We reuse, we make do with, or we redo things that we have to use them in the garden to get what we need, frankly, without having to pay a lot of money for it and without having a lot of waste. That's system number one. System number two for us is to only use organic pest control. See, my trees look like they've been snowed on. This is Surround WP kale and clay. I buy it by the 25-pound bag. It gets sprayed on. These are all fruit trees, two kinds of apples, an Alberta peach, a Red Haven peach, and then the very end is a pear tree with 4 kinds of pears grafted on it. Baby apple covered in kale and clay. And pears. These are pears. This is the first time that this tree has given us fruit. The kale and clay, you spray it on. Goes on, it doesn't look quite so impressively white, but once it dries it gets white. It stays on really well. Now it's very, very foggy and misty out here. We are coastal Rhode Island, so we get a lot of fog, and today's no exception. But as you can see, I'm rubbing that pretty vigorously. It stays on pretty well. I do respray these every time it rains hard, because right now I really want that fruit protected. So kale and clay, another one of my systems. And I don't just spray the fruit trees too. I also spray vegetables, and I'll show you that. Let's go down here a little further that way and I'll show you. These are eggplant. And every year I have a terrible, terrible battle with flea beetles normally. But not anymore. The kale and clay is working brilliantly. As you can see, there's not one flea beetle bite on those. Now I do have them netted, but the flea beetles really overwinter in the soil. So if there were flea beetles there, they would be there, whether that netting was there or not. So it's working brilliantly for those. I'm also planning to use it to discourage vine borers, cucumber beetles, and squash bugs too. In fact, by midsummer, my entire garden is probably going to look white from all this kale and clay. But it's a natural mineral, it's a natural fungicide. It works on a slew of pests. It's a system that works for me. I do use copper fungicide on the fruit trees late winter and early spring just to help give them a head start. But yeah, natural pest control. It's a system that works for me. System number 3 that I just can't do without is a 3-bin compost system. We do move the compost along into different bins as we turn it, and we really only turn it maybe once or twice a year, not even a season, but a year. So we usually have a bin that's full of active, ready-to-use compost. That's that middle bin. As you can see, we've already used it because we did just split the garden in for the 1st of May. Late April, 1st of May, up till Mother's Day. That's when I do the bulk of my planting. Then we always have a working bin. This one is almost usable, just not quite. And then we have a bin that's got the current bin that we're putting stuff into. This will be the compost for next spring or next fall. Now, we don't line them up in any specific order because they get moved around. So this is working compost. That will stay like that. It will get progressively filled up more and more and more through the season. And eventually it'll get turned into another bin. That bin probably will be usable by fall, and that will be turned into another bin before then. So it's just my husband and I controlling what happens in the garden here. So we know which bin is which. And as you can see, that pallet needs to be replaced. We do have to replace them every, 3 or 4 years. But again, they are recycled pallets that we get for free. They work beautifully for our system. It's a system we can't do without. We never buy soil. We never buy anything for our garden. As far as dirt or filler, we make our own compost. Probably 5-6 yards. We could probably make 8 yards a year of compost. And we do have chickens. We have 8 of them. You can see a couple right there. But we do have 8 of them running around in our yard everywhere but the garden. They get a nice, great big yard that they can kind of free range in, and the yard continues to go that way. Their chicken litter goes into the compost bins. It goes on what I call the back 40, that back row. This row has rhubarb right here, and then it's got about a dozen fig trees, and then the back probably 15-20 feet of it is all prime arc thornless blackberries. That little garden in the back, that little pocket garden, that is where my mint grows, apple mint, orange mint. There's some Egyptian walking onions in there and a few evergreen shrubs and just a bird feature, a waterer, bird bath for the birds. And that's all fenced in, so they can't get in there. And I have another little herb garden up by the house that has a really tall fence in it right now because the chickens have been getting in there, and I just planted a bunch of new herb seeds and I don't want them destroying them. So this is system number 3. Compost, chicken litter goes in the compost. We have phenomenal dirt. It looks just like chocolate cake here, and it's because we feed the soil all the time. And speaking of feed the soil, that brings me to my next system, fertilizing. We use a Jadam tank to feed microbes to the soil, and then we make all our own compost. And those two things together give us a really rich soil. So using any other kind of fertilizer in my garden really is not necessary. I do sometimes put a little bit of fertilizer, just fruit tree fertilizer, around the fruit trees because they're heavier feeders. Their roots are so close to the top of the soil under those wood chips. I want to make sure they're getting enough, and that the wood chips, because we do put them all over our garden, I want to make sure they're not taking too much nitrogen from the soil too. So I do a little bit of organic fruit tree fertilizer around the fruit trees. But other than that, we do not fertilize any of our gardens. We rely on the Jadam tank producing microbes to be able to feed the soil microbes so that they can break down the all of the natural good nutrients that come from the compost. And it's worked really well. Our soil is super dark, super rich, and that is my system number 4. System number 5 is keeping things clean. It's really important in a garden to prevent the spread of diseases and fungi and bacteria that can decimate plants. So one of the things we do is we keep things really clean. I do keep a sink out here. I do not have running water in my garden. I usually have a big hose over here. And so anything that I've potted plants in, like these had plant starts in them yesterday, I threw them in here because I haven't cleaned them yet, but those will get washed before they are put away for the season or before that they're used again. So I love having a sink. This sink has an open drain into a bucket. I do use the water again to water plants, but sometimes if I'm not able to do that, I just will kick the bucket over and let the water drain out when I use the sink. But keeping stuff clean is like super important. It is dirt, so how clean can you keep stuff? But you can certainly put in the effort for cleaning your tools and cleaning your pots, and having all of that mess out here is really helpful. The other thing is, because my sink does have a plug in it, I am able to wash and prep my produce before I bring it in the house. Cuts down on the dirt. It cuts down on the debris that goes into my kitchen sink drain too, so that's a very helpful. My husband is very glad to not have to plunge at the sink all the time, but that is just a really good thing. These are not very expensive. I think it was maybe $75 when I bought it. I bring it inside every winter into the shed, and it works great for us having some place to wash up myself, my fruits and vegetables, and my pots right here. Even if I have to repot, I have like a little potting bench set up here to do repotting. Just keeps the mess out of the house. So that's another system. These are beehives for masonry bees. Now, I live in a suburban setting, so having regular beehives is really not a good mix for me or for my neighbors. So we don't do that, but I do provide masonry beehives and other bug hotel areas around the garden to encourage pollinators to be here. So these two are pretty new, but as you can see, if I get a little bit closer, they are being used. If I get really close to this one, you might be able to see some of those are filled. They are being used. And this is early spring, so they would have been vacated not too long ago. But I have noticed an uptick in pollinators, and I always plant a lot of flowers in the garden too. So having beehives or bug hotels, another system that really works for me. And I do have two other bug hotel areas, and I'll give you just a quick peek of those. So way down the end of this aisle, there's a pot right there. And just below it, there's a big stack of wood. It's leaning a little. For some reason, I think the ground is soft. You've had a lot of rain lately. I need to straighten that up. But that is a bug hotel for me. And then over here next to my seating area, there's a bug hotel right there. Let's walk over there a little closer. So this stack of wood right here is stacked really loosely in places all around it to serve as an additional bug hotel. So we really do encourage pollinators. And I have a lot of roly-polies in my garden because of all the wood chips, but I'm okay with that. They don't bother my plants. I've not had any problems with roly-polies and my plants, probably because there is so much for wood chips, but I do have a lot of spider activity too. And again, I have pots of flowers that go in all over the garden and in the garden just to encourage pollinators to be here too. And a lot of this area that you see empty, some of it still needs to be planted, some of it has seeds, but some of those seeds that are coming up will be flowers. And I usually have a lot of multicolored zinnias and borage, calendula, and a couple of different kinds of marigold plants. And back there by that mirror, you see, underneath that, bug hotel areas too. So that is another system encouraging pollinators and friendly bugs that help break down things that need to be broken down, is another system that we rely on to keep an organic, functioning garden without a lot of really bad pest pressure. Here next to the soil, just to reiterate about the compost, this is our soil, and it's not wet at the moment. But you can see This is just the very surface I'm picking up of the dirt, but you can see how dark and rich our soil is. It's not too friable, holds together well. It's not too sandy, it doesn't have much clay, it has a lot of organic matter in it. We can grow, I swear, anything in this dirt. We're really grateful for it, but we do work really hard to have great soil here. And when we started, this piece of property was just green lawn. We started and put in a no-dig garden in over a lawn, and that was a handful of years ago, and we have almost no weeds. I haven't weeded because I'm still planting, but you can see even these empty beds. This is an empty bed except for those peppers and these tomatoes. It's an empty bed. That's borage back there. Really, there's no big weed issues. This is an area we're covering over with grass because that block is going to be planted out for corn before too long. So yeah, garden systems. I would love to know down below what you use for garden systems for yourself. Everybody has systems that work for them. These are the ones that I use. There's always more. More coming up, more I'm trying out new. But these are my systems. So if you have any questions, just put those right below. I always answer comments and questions. I love hearing from you, love this community. You guys are just the best of the best, and I will see you soon. Take care.